Hubert, you've got guys that are playing a lot of minutes, and yet they continue to play well in key moments. What does a player have to do, I mean, aside from the physical conditioning, to earn your trust as a coach that you say, I know this guy can push through mentally and physically, continue to perform at a high level?
Well, the guys that are playing, high minutes, during the game, it's really, how the game is going. And if a certain five is in there and it's working, whether defensively or offensive execution, I like to run with that. If a player is playing really well and I had only thought about playing him 2 or 3 minute stints and he makes positive consecutive plays out there, I'll keep him in there. And so there isn't going into a game predetermining how many minutes guys are going to play. It's really predicated on their performance out there on the floor. And just to give you an example, I thought Dontrez was playing extremely well when he played 24 minutes. And I know we went into overtime, but it was because of his play. And that's how I've done it throughout the entire season.
RJ has played, for instance, 40 minutes or more 3 times in the last, since I think late February.
Would you take him out?
Not right now. but I was curious how you sort of worry about, like, do you worry about he's going to wear down, or he's competitive, I have to pull him out to give him a rest even if he thinks he's ready, or do you just say go?
No, I do, and practices have been geared to help those high minute guys stay fresh, but also be ready to play and feel rested as well. Another thing is, especially with the NCAA tournament, the timeouts are very long, and those serve as really nice points to get rested and feel like you can go back out there on the floor and play at a high level. And so I think the length of the timeouts in the NCAA tournament really help us and really help the high minute guys.
You talk about the emotion that you had, after everything from Fort Worth is done, you settle in, you're getting ready for a Sweet 16 game. That first practice and just this moment right here, you guys are still here, still playing. What is that emotion and that vibe for you right now going into this game?
Well, I'm just really excited for the players. This is something that we had talked about prior to the season, is for them to have an opportunity to advance in the NCAA tournament. Only Leaky Black is the only person that's ever been this far in the NCAA tournament. And, we had practice yesterday, and it was like kids in a candy store. They're just so happy they've never been here before. And so as a coach, that just brings me great joy. I've said this a number of times, the thing that fuels me is to see the players happy, to see them successful, to see all of their hard work come back in a positive way, and to see their reaction and how excited, how joyful, how together that this group is. It warms my heart and brings joy to me. I always tell this to the guys, I just want things to work out for them.
On the topic of rotations, I was curious why you played Puff a lot, but you went with McCoy over Puff in the last stretch. I was wondering why that was your choice.
He practiced really well. Over the last week, he put together a string of fantastic practices. And it gave me confidence that in those games where Dontrez's athleticism and length could really help us. And so that's why I made the move.
Hubert, you made 4 Sweet 16s, obviously advancing further a couple times as an assistant coach, but what lessons did you learn as an assistant preparing for the second weekend that you've applied now being the head coach?
Well, I think, right before the NCAA tournament started, I said, one of the things that I think is important is to put this whole tournament into perspective. And so our focus was to win the Fort Worth tournament. And then, break this apart now. We've been given the opportunity because of our play to go play in the Philadelphia tournament. And so let's see if we can win 2 games in Philadelphia, and if we play well and we win, you know, more than likely they'll invite us to the New Orleans tournament. And so just to put that into perspective, and also told the guys, you have to win 6 games in order to win a national championship, and towards the end of the season we won 6 games. So that's something that we've already done. And so just to help the guys focus, you know, it's a big thing, and I know I've said this before, but it's really, especially for this generation and this group of kids, is to stay focused on the task. There's so much noise, and just to turn down the noise of the phone, the family, and the friends, and just focus on our practice, our preparation, and just make sure that we're playing our best. And that's the only thing you need to focus on. And so our focus is playing our best in Philadelphia, and our hopes is playing our best will give us an opportunity to be invited to the next place.
Hubert, you, Adam, then CL, then Errol, then Andrew.
Hubert, on the subject of Brady and moving on from the Baylor game, like I'm sure you guys have watched the game on film and everything as a group. Have you had any conversations just off to the side with Brady or in private, just about moving on from getting tossed and everything? Is there anything specific you've tried to tell him?
No, I mean, we've moved on. You know, actually, before practice yesterday, we looked at film for an hour, and we started from the 10-minute mark all the way through overtime. And one of the things that, you know, I wanted to show them is that some of the mistakes that we made, they were self-induced. And that these are things, whether it's press offense execution, taking care of the basketball, missed box outs, these are things that can be a difference maker whether you continue to advance or you go back home. And so these are things that are fixable and that we've got to get better at and learn so we don't make those same mistakes on Friday. I've always said that a mistake is good if you recognize it, admit it, learn from it, and grow from it. And so it was important for me to show that film to them so that we could recognize it, admit it, learn from it, and grow from it. So against UCLA Friday night, we don't make those same mistakes.
CL?
Hubert, I'm not trying to get you fined here, but with the officiating, you know, I know there's a process with the ACC, but if, and on your radio show, you said you didn't agree with it being a flagrant 2 that was called on Brady. What's the process for protesting that, if you will? Like, did you guys send the play to the NCAA or anything like that, just to?
To me, there's no process. Look, you know, first of all, I have a great relationship with all the referees, and specifically the 3 that reffed against Baylor, and they are terrific referees. And it was a very difficult game to referee. It was 2 really good teams that didn't want to go home, and it was very physical. And did the refs make some calls that I didn't necessarily agree with? Yes, but that's okay. They're good people and good refs, and that happens all the time. I'm sure people don't agree with some of the calls that I make and some of the decisions that I make, and that's okay. And the only thing that we have control over is our play. And there wasn't an issue for me during the game, and there wasn't an issue for me after the game.
Hang on, Errol?
Regarding Friday night, UCLA is one of the few teams that's left in the tournament that's players been together for a while. Obviously, they was in the Final Four last year. What are some concerns you have regarding UCLA?
Well, a number of things. One, they're really good. And 2, I don't know this specifically, but I'm guessing that a huge part what drives them is their success last year of getting to the Final Four and wanting to go further. And the reason why I say that, that was a driving force for the 2017 team. When we lost to Villanova in the championship game, that was our foundation piece during practice, during preseason, during games, to get back to the championship game and have a different story, a different narrative. And so that type of motivation is very powerful, and also their experience. You know, they've been there before. And so UCLA is a fantastic team. Coach Cronin is an outstanding coach. Their coaching staff, I have tremendous respect for it, and we're excited about, again, playing a really, really great UCLA team.
Andrew, then Greg, then Aaron.
Coach, you've had the fortune of hearing Coach Smith, Coach Williams, Riley, Nelson, all these different greats communicate to a team in a difficult situation. And so when your club comes over to you at the end of regulation the other day, are you drawing on some of that? Are you thinking about something maybe that worked before that kind of fueled the words that you said to your team, or was it all instinctive and part of it was funneling just all those years, all those opportunities, seeing those guys do what they did, and just sort of naturally came out to get your team at ease?
Well, I did, learn from all of them that, the team feeds off of my emotions. And, when we were going into overtime, the most important thing for me to express to the team was confidence and poise. And the first thing that I said in the huddle is I gave them a little joke. I said, this is awesome. We get to play 5 more minutes. Isn't that really cool? And they looked at me like, I don't know about that, coach. I said, wasn't that funny? And I did. I said, guys, if I came to you the day before and I said, we have 5 minutes against Baylor to go to the Sweet 16, it's a tie score, would you take that? And they all said, yeah. And I said, okay, then, well, we're here. And I said, let's enjoy it. And let's embrace the moment. And, the regulation has passed, and let's just make sure that we play our best. We always, throughout the game, always try to put even the game into parts. I say, okay, at the 16-minute mark, when we come in a timeout, I say, the next 4 minutes. So when it gets to 12 minutes and there's a timeout, let's make this the best 4 minutes that we've played on both ends of the floor. Okay, so let's execute defensively. Let's take care of the ball on the offensive end. Let's get great shots. And then we get to 12-minute mark. And so I did the same thing in overtime. I said, wow, this 5 minutes, let this be the strongest 5 minutes that this team has played the entire game. And let's just see what we can do. And I told them, I said, guys, irregardless of making shots or who's ever in the lineup, it comes down to our team with 3 things: defend, rebound, and take care of the basketball. I said, if you guys do those 3 things, I said, we'll be right there in the game, and we'll have an opportunity to win here in overtime.
Quick follow-up. You played for Coach Smith, and I've talked to a lot of guys that played for him, said that he had that line he would use occasionally on the road, the place is going nuts, about a billion Chinese don't care, something along those lines. Is that where maybe that came from? Just sort of, you can ease them by game to think about something else for a quick second.
Well, from Coach Smith, Coach Guthridge, Coach Williams, Coach Riley, everybody, really the biggest thing that I draw on is my experience as a player. So me sitting on the bench looking at my coach, I just don't think I would, and I never did respond really well in that situation with a coach screaming and looking frantic and not composed in that situation. I've always fed off the head coach, and if I was sitting there as a player and here's my head coach giving me life, giving me confidence, showing that he's confident, he's poised, that I can go out there and I can execute, then that's going to give me the same type of confidence and poise out there on the floor. And so I do draw from those coaches, but also draw from my experience of being in their seat as a player.
Got time for the last 3. Gregory, then Aaron, then I have one from Brendan Marks. So go ahead, Gregory.
Hubert, how do you get your guys to focus more on the enjoyment of playing another game rather than the pressure of it potentially being their last?
I don't think there's any pressure. This is basketball. There's a lot of things. This is basketball. This is a great opportunity. I would hate for them to lose and to miss the opportunity to play against UCLA in the Sweet 16 because they're thinking about this possibly might be their last game. That's the exact same thing that I'm talking about, is keep your eyes straight ahead and ignore all sideshow distractions. Like, at the end of the day, whatever happens on Friday or the remainder of the season, this is a great chance and this is a great opportunity. And I've always told them about how to be thankful and how to be appreciative of the opportunities that you get and make the most of it. And so for this team, what is it, 14 out of the last 17 in the Sweet 16? Like, this is a time of joy and celebration and confidence. This is not a time of being scared and nervous. Like, there is no scared or nervousness about us. It is, I can't tell you how together and how healthy this team is right now. We don't want this to end. It's like, it's the opposite. Like, we've grown together this year so much that we don't want this to end. And it's a joy and a celebration, not a pressure or a burden. We're having fun. We're having fun working, we're having fun preparing, we're having fun practicing. I can't believe that. And then we're having fun playing.
Aaron?
Yeah, we saw Roy on television watching and smiling a few times during the most tense of moments, like no pressure at all on him anymore. Did you get to talk to him, and kind of what was his reaction after the game at all, if you did get to talk to him?
I haven't talked to him after the game. The only people that I talked to was my wife and my 3 kids. And there was a lot to unpack from the game. And, you know, like, so many people have asked, like, not just about the game, but throughout the season, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? And I've said, you know, for the last 11 and a half months, I haven't had time to think and to feel. It's all been great, but it's been busy. And so after the game against Baylor, I looked at the last 10 minutes in overtime because I wanted to see if there was something that could help our team. And then it automatically went to UCLA. So that's where my thinking is.
This question from Brendan Marks, going to be here. It said, you've mentioned before that the bus ride back from Wake Forest and the next morning's practice was kind of a turning point. Why did you think on that bus ride back that your team was still capable of what you've gone on to do, the 14 out of 7 and being the Sweet 16?
I just, you know, I just felt the way that we had practiced and the way that we had played in certain games that we had enough character, we had enough confidence, we had enough talent to be a really good basketball team. I never, in any part of my life, I've never put like a number or a specific goal. The only thing that for me has been a goal is I wanted to come to North Carolina. Other than that, I never, as a player, said I want to average this, I want to be first team this. I never said I wanted to go to the NBA. I didn't say I wanted to play 12 years in the NBA and play for these many teams. I never said I wanted to, you know, work for ESPN, or I wanted to be an assistant coach under Coach Williams, and then at this time I want to become the head coach. I never had those types of goals set for the team, except I thought we could be really good. And in those games against Miami and Wake Forest, 2 terrific basketball teams, I didn't feel like we played our best. And I just felt like we could play better and we could play better consistently.
Last one, Art, you had your hand up, go ahead.
Congratulations, Hubert.
Thank you.
The evolution, and I asked you about the evolution of Brady and RJ. Brady's the 5-year guy, he's played the open offense. How much of was it a collaboration where when you were putting the offense in, he said these are things that worked at Oklahoma and so forth because he's so experienced? Or you just tell him what to do and he did it?
Well, first of all, he's an instinctive player. He knows how to play. He's not just a shooter, he's a basketball player. You know, it's interesting. throughout the season, we have tweaked, we have pivoted, we have altered our offense. And really, what made it change was when we had injuries. It was the Boston College game when we had, guys out of COVID and we had some injuries, and Leaky was at the 4. And we had never practiced with Leaky at the 4, so we started running 4 out, 1 in, and it looked really good. And I said, we got to take a look at this. And we just kind of started morphing into our secondary break, going into our, what we call it, 2K spots, where there's spacing, balance, a combination of player and ball movement, and it just really worked. And we just got better at it. And when you have instinctive, skilled players like RJ and Brady and Leaky and Armando and Caleb, that's what makes it work. That's how you can get, 51 assists on
62 baskets.
62 baskets. And so that's how it started.
And the evolution of RJ to being the primary ball handler, how did that happen?
I always loved having 2 ball handlers out there on the floor, and I've said this, before I became an assistant coach, I never thought about that until we got Marcus Page and Joel Berry. And they were out there on the floor, and I was like, ooh, this looks good. And like you have 2 ball handlers, it's difficult for to get pressed. Nobody can take you out of your offense because you have multiple guys that can make plays. And so that's the way that I like to play. I like to have 2 primary ball handlers. And so the offense can run through Caleb, and it can run through RJ. I just think RJ is playing at an extremely high level right now. His ability to get us into our offense, understand when to shoot, when to pass, take care of the basketball, has been at a really high level. The whole season, but specifically the last 2 or 3 weeks. And that's who RJ is. A perfect example is the NCAA tournament for him to have 12 assists and 1 turnover, and then the next game have 30. That's when I grew up, you didn't put players in particular categories. They weren't like point guard, shooting guard, defensive specialist, power forward. You were a guard or you were big. So as a guard, you can pass, you can shoot, you can defend, you can rebound, you can do everything. And that's what RJ is. He's a guard. He can pass, he can defend, he can shoot, he can score, he can distribute. He's having a fantastic season.
Coach, thank you very much. Everybody, thank you.
Thank you.
By the way, on that